All right, welcome. If you're just getting started as a business analyst, you are in exactly the right place. Seriously, I'm going to give you the playbook I wish someone had handed me on day one. We're going to skip all the textbook jargon and build a real-world, practical guide to help you absolutely nail your data projects, from the very beginning to the final presentation.
So, let's start here. This six-stage framework, this is your roadmap. Think of it as your North Star for any project. It's the path that takes you from a fuzzy, kind of vague business question all the way to a sharp, actionable insight. We're going to walk through every single one of these steps together.
So here's how we're going to tackle it. We'll start with the big picture, the project roadmap. Then we're going to dive deep into data wrangling, and I'll tell you why that's so critical. After that, we'll get into the fun stuff, visualizing data and forming hypotheses. Then, of course, the analysis, how to refine your model, and, maybe most importantly, how to communicate your findings so people actually listen.
Okay, first things first. Before you touch a single spreadsheet, before you write one line of code, you have to do this. You have to deeply, truly understand the business problem. Ask yourself, what are we actually trying to achieve here? What does success even look like? Get this wrong, and the entire project is built on sand.
Now let me give you a piece of advice that I give every single new analyst I mentor. This process, it almost never works in a straight line. You might get all the way to the analysis phase and suddenly realize, oh no, I need to go back and get different data. That is not a failure. That's just part of the process. It's totally normal. So get comfortable with circling back.
All right, let's talk about what I honestly believe is the most critical stage of any data project. This is the step that will either set you up for a huge success or a massive failure down the road. We're talking about data wrangling.
I really want this quote to stick with you. Think of data wrangling like being a chef. It's all the prep work. If you start with rotten tomatoes, it doesn't matter if you have the best recipe in the world. Your final dish is going to be awful. Get your data clean and right at the start, and I promise you, you're already halfway to a win.
So how do you actually do it? Well, it's basically a three-step dance. First, you get to know your data. What have you got? Then, you play detective and identify all the problems. This is where you have to look for sneaky things like sampling bias. You know, like if a survey only went out to your happiest customers, yeah, that data is going to be skewed. And finally, you roll up your sleeves and fix it all.
And trust me, you are always going to run into missing data. It's just a fact of life. So here are your main plays. For numbers, you can just plug in the average, the mean or median. That's usually a safe bet. For categories, you can fill them in based on the existing proportions to keep things balanced. And yeah, you can just delete the rows with missing info, but be really careful with that. Only do it if you have a ton of data and losing a few rows won't poison the well.
Okay, once your data is sparkling clean, we get to move into one of the most rewarding phases, visualization. This is where you make the data talk. It's where you literally start to see the story, spot patterns, and come up with ideas you can actually go and test.
Now, choosing the right chart can feel overwhelming, but it's not. It all boils down to one thing. What question are you trying to answer? Simple as that. Comparing sales figures for different products? Bar chart. Done. Tracking how a stock price has changed over a month? Line graph. Easy. Just match the chart to the story you're trying to tell. Don't make it more complicated than it needs to be.
And please, remember this. A chart isn't great just because it's accurate. It has to be accessible. Use high contrast colors so everyone can see it clearly. Use labels, and watch your scale. It is so easy to accidentally lie with data by zooming in on an axis and making a tiny change look like a huge deal. Your job is to show the truth, not distort it.
So, looking at those charts is going to spark a bunch of questions in your head. The next step is to take one of those questions and turn it into a hypothesis. A real hypothesis isn't just a vague thought like, I wonder if our ads are working. No, it's a sharp, testable statement like, customers who saw our new ad campaign are 15% more likely to make a purchase. See the difference? It has to be something you can definitively prove true or false.
All right, you've got clean data, you have a testable hypothesis, now it's game time. We're moving into the analysis phase, and we're going to figure out how to pick the right tool to get the job done. Let's say you're forecasting. You can start simple with what's called a naive model. That's like saying, well, we sold 100 widgets yesterday, so we'll probably sell 100 today. It's a great starting point, a baseline. But something like exponential smoothing is way more sophisticated because it gives more weight to what happened recently. That's super useful for something like forecasting product demand, where last week's sales are way more important than what happened last year.
Now, if you're trying to predict an outcome, like will this customer cancel their subscription, yes or no, you've got options. A decision tree is awesome because you can actually see the logic.
You can show it to your boss and say, look, if a customer does X and Y, they're likely to leave. But then you have neural networks. They can be insanely powerful, but they're a black box. It's hard to explain how they work. So you have to choose. Do you need maximum accuracy, or do you need to be able to explain the result?
So, you've built a model. That's great. But how do you know if it's any good? This next part, refining and evaluating, is what separates a good analyst from a truly great one. You have to be willing to stress test your own work.
You have to watch out for this trap called overfitting. It's when your model gets too smart. It basically memorizes the training data, including all the random little flukes and noise. So it looks perfect, but then it completely fails when it sees new data. Think of it like a student who memorizes the practice exam but can't answer a single new question. A technique called lasso is like a safety valve that prevents this by forcing the model to only focus on the truly important stuff.
Okay, don't let formulas like this scare you. You don't need to have it memorized. The big idea behind log loss is actually really simple. It's just a score for how good your classification model is. It really punishes the model if it's super confident about a prediction but gets it wrong. So all you need to remember is this: the lower the log loss score, the better your model is. That's it.
Another one of my favorite tools is the confusion matrix. It's just a simple little table that shows you what your model predicted versus what really happened. It gives you a super clear picture of where your model is brilliant and where it's getting, well, confused. It tells you exactly what kinds of mistakes it's making.
You've done all the heavy lifting. The data's clean, the model is built and tested. But listen, none of that work matters one bit if you can't nail this final step. You have to communicate what you found in a way that actually makes the business do something. This is where you create real value.
Look, your value isn't the complex model you built. Your value is your ability to translate what it means. When you present, lead with the recommendation, the so what. Don't ever show an executive a log loss score. Tell them what it means in plain English. Use simple charts and be honest about the limitations and risks. Your job is to give them the clarity they need to make a smart, informed decision.
So, I'll leave you with this. As you finish up any project, after all the cleaning and coding and analyzing, always ask yourself this one simple question. It's the ultimate filter. It focuses all that hard work on the only thing that really matters, making a real, tangible impact on the business.